Welcome to Monday Morning Coffee with Inside the Firm. Each week, our hosts will be interviewing local, regional, and national business leaders to give you an inside peek into how they lead their business to success in the ever-competitive business climate.
Welcome to Monday Morning Coffee to Inside the Firm. Today I have a very special guest. Vince Quinn is the co-founder and creative director of SBX Productions, where he helps businesses launch impactful podcasts and use them to power their marketing. He also coaches podcasters to unlock their full hosting potential, drawing from his years as a nationally syndicated radio host and a professional communicator. Vince, welcome to the show.
Lance, thanks for having me. This is great.
Yeah. You got that radio voice, so I gotta know before we get into what you do now. Tell us how you got here. Are you from a family of entrepreneurs? Where does that entrepreneurial spirit come from?
It kind of came out of necessity, and I would say resentment for the establishment is where it came from. Lance, all Catholic school the entire time growing up, grade school, high school, college. Never liked the dress code. Never liked being told how to do things twice. I was really stubborn as much as I'm like friendly. And it was one of those things where being in corporate radio for 10 years, I got into this spot where I saw where the industry was going. I figured I can either go all in and fully commit and try to build my career and invest my life essentially on radio, or I can go and do my own thing because I felt like it was stiff. It wasn't adapting. They were saying no to all of these different ideas to try to modernize it. And so I made the leap into podcasting. It's been about 5 years now, a little over 5 years, and haven't looked back.
Very cool. As a fellow, I don't know if you still practice. I'm a practicing Catholic, but
yeah,
man, the contrarianism, it really helps the contrarianism, doesn't it? I feel like it's it's beautifully stodgy and strict. But man, the blossoms that come from that are really interesting, especially in your younger years. So I had to touch on that. I have one of my favorite employees. He's so good. Is same thing. He was Catholic, then came out and kind of a punk rocker. It's pretty awesome. So thanks for sharing that. Tell us. One of the I was a podcaster myself. One of the things I struggle with is I do guesting too. And one of the things that annoys me, and I've been actually turning them down when this happens. I'm just over it. And I think it's because maybe I feel like I'm a professional, doing it for 8 years, almost 900 episodes. I'm ready to go. I'm a public figure, but some hosts insist on doing pre-interviews. And how do you, where are you at with that? You had hot, cold, tepid?
So I am hot on pre-interviews. I love pre-interviews. But for me, it's all about the intent of what you're trying to do, right? Like, what are you looking to get out of it? And what is how essential is that time is how I look at it. Because for me, I like a pre-interview in the sense of I like to get very specific for what the conversation is going to be about. So I'll use that pre-interview as a way to get to know that person a little bit, understand their way of thinking, and then it's almost like a shortcut for the episode itself. So think about a 30-minute pre-interview and a 30-minute episode compared to an hour episode where you don't do any pre-interview. Because a lot of times you tend to get to the best stuff in that 25th minute, that 30th minute, that 40th minute, because now you have gotten to know that person, you have gotten comfortable, you do understand their way of thinking, and now you can ask really deep, insightful questions because you've spent that time. So I do the pre-interview, I cut that stuff out essentially, and then I just get right to what I would think is typically, 25 to 35 minutes in.
Yeah, thanks. I see it as amateurish. I'm not calling you one, clearly.
Okay, to be clear, I'm open to it. Yeah,
that's the way I look at it as I go what? Are you a professional or not? Right? And because maybe that's just me because I can just jump into it. We didn't do a pre-interview today.
No.
Which kind of leads me to my next one is I preach this all the time on when I do guesting on shows as I go, because people ask me about the podcast and what it's done for us. They think it's all about leads, actually, that maybe I'm getting all of these architecture and building clients, and we have gotten a few. But what it's really done for me is, surprisingly, it's just improved my life. For what in one way, but I bet you have additional ways you could talk about how it does improve your life. I've become a much better public speaker. I really try to get rid of the us, and ums, and all of those prepositions. And I can fluidly get through what I need to say in a clear, concise way.
Yeah, 100%. Public speaking gets so much better. I think the way that you talk about your business and the way you do marketing, just casually in conversation, the way you network essentially gets a whole lot better. You can be a better listener through podcasting and all these kinds of things. Like human connection gets better, right? Because
Hmm.
it is a conversation between two people, and you are trying to understand that person. You are trying to get information out and build a connection. So to be able to do that in a way where you can have a great podcast, great interview, especially when it is like, hey, I'm meeting you on the fly, like let's figure this out, and then think about what that can do for a family party, right? Hey, I haven't seen you in 6 months, and you can just jump right into it. You can ask the right kind of questions, and it's like, yes, this is my cousin. We hardly ever talk, but you know what? It always feels the same. And those are the kinds of things that you get from podcasting. Like I think it's generally just a life skill.
Absolutely. It helps with dating, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean that in a romantic and non-romantic way. So it was like even like sales meetings or first meet and greets you have with clients, your ability to grease the wheels just becomes so much more easy. My daughter asks me all the time. She's like, "Aren't you? We just signed a celebrity client. I won't say who it is, but like
Mhm.
it's a huge, huge celebrity." And they said my whole family was like, "Aren't you nervous?" And I go, "No, like I do this every day." Like to me, Vince is a celebrity, right? Like we're a public figure on a public show, technically, right?
Yeah.
And so to be able to relate to you and talk to you, it just becomes much easier to do.
Yeah, it's such a relief in that way. I recently made a transition where I was doing a lot of small business coaches, consultants, like people who were the business, a lot of solopreneurs. And then I partnered on a show about 6 months back where it was a lot more CEOs, CMOs, like mid-sized companies, enterprise level with global reach and offices. And when I first went into those shows, I was like, oh my God, I don't even know how to talk to these people. Like I'm an alien to them. And I don't understand like the way they go about communication or how to email them to coordinate. And then I got into it and I'm like, oh yeah, they're people and they're just like everybody else. And as long as you approach it as they are a person and have a regular conversation and be yourself, it's fine. But I didn't know until I got the reps. And then I had 6 months
Hmm.
worth of every single day just about talking to one, two, three people in those kinds of positions, understanding how they operate, what doing in those kinds of roles, and what makes successful business in the modern age. Like I learned a ton, but I had to throw myself at it and get the reps in, and it just gets easier and better. You just know people more.
Yeah, yeah. We talked about the pre-interview part and hosts doing that. What are some other hosting skills that you think are like top three?
Yeah, I think it's number one, being incredibly clear of what you're going to talk about, especially from the thought leadership standpoint, right? There's plenty of people who do solo episodes, which is totally cool, but
Hmm.
you want to be focused about what those things are. You need to be pretty ruthless in terms of the information that you're giving people, how it's going to benefit them, ways they can put that into action, and having the call to action. So that preparation that goes into execution, I think is massive, and you really can tell when people don't do it. They just meander. It doesn't get to the point. Like it's not. You have to guess what the moral of the story is by the end of the episode. So that hurts you. It hurts you
Mm.
everywhere. And I would say prep. So prep is number one, to have those clear opinions. Two is when it comes to interviews, then it's the same thing of who is this person? What are the things that I want to ask them about that I think are really interesting, that are really going to provide value to my audience? If you get too deep into the, hey, so where'd you go to college? And you know what I mean? Like a lot of times it just doesn't, people, they never met your guest before. They don't know who they are. They don't want their origin story. You know what I mean? Like I don't need to know the full background on somebody I never met and don't know what opinions they have that are valuable. So I cut right to it. Like, get what are the most interesting things? And same thing here, right? Like, we're
Yeah.
just diving deep into a lot of stuff about podcasting, the nuances of it, in and outs of opinion. That's great. But like, that's a thoughtful thing and it gets to the core of the issue. And hopefully I'm giving people value in that. So that's number two. And then number three, it really comes down to after communication, like after the show communication. And this can apply to anybody, which is why I think it's so important, because no matter what you're doing, whether it's an entertainment thing, you're community building and connecting, if it's a business thing and you're building those
Hmm.
relationships to sell, or a mix of both, talk to these people afterwards. I mean, everybody gets so focused on, hey, we're doing the show and we had this episode and it was a great communication. But then if you're not connected to them on LinkedIn or following them on Instagram, or you know what I mean, it's sand through your fingers, because 3 months from now they've forgotten about you, and you have to show that you genuinely care. That's the point, right? You want to build connection.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. You made me realize one of the mistakes I made. The guest I had on previous to our show, our interview here was what I usually do before I ask that entrepreneur question is I say like, hey, I had you on the show. I wanted to have you on the show because of X, Y, and Z. So it previews the audience of what we're going to talk about specifically to their bio. And then I go, but before we get into that, so thank you for reminding me of that. I think another one, there's some just really simple ones that I've
Yeah.
even had to tell my business partner, who does a show just like this on our podcast, and is like, hey, please ask for how to pronounce their name. Don't just instantly go into it and do that. The follow up is critical also as well, of like either having your PR agent or yourself touch base with folks when their episode is going to air. The sharing and caring is really how it gets going out and is more obvious for people in finding the podcast and being successful. Um, but there's some statistics too I wanted you to maybe hopefully touch on because you're such an expert at this. And I think, do I think everybody should have a podcast? Man, I used to say no, and it's kind of like, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
because of the life skill part of it, it's not so much like everybody needs all this extra content because there's so much. But when it comes out, if somebody is listening to this and they go, you know what, I'm finally convinced. I listened to Lance, I listened to Vince. I'm going to start a podcast. Um, what are some of the statistics that could help be their motivator? I've heard some where they go, I think it's like if you get past 50 episodes, you're in the top 5%. Just some
Yep.
basic strategies to start slow and steady and be disciplined about it so you can be successful long term.
Yeah, let me take it from there then. I believe it's 47% of shows don't make it past 3 episodes. 3.
Oh my goodness.
Like, it's crazy, right? Like that's an insane figure. But when you think about what goes into a podcast and what people expect when they go into a podcast, it makes a lot of sense because people, especially over the last couple of years, it's been around for, let's say, 15 years, right? A little longer, but ballpark. So with that, as people have started to engage it, it was a lot of, well, we're going to do the show and everybody's going to think we're so funny and so engaging and we're going to get really popular and we're going to get all these sponsors and we're going to make a lot of money. And then people post 3 episodes. They realize the amount of work that goes into planning a show, executing a show, editing a show, posting a show, promoting a show, seeing 3 downloads on that show. It's all people they know and themselves just checking back on the file. And they go, you know what? This isn't worth it. It's too much work. And so, like, that's a discouraging figure, but it's all just to really reinforce being very clear what you want to get out of it. Because if you are trying to build something that has a massive audience, it's going to take time. You've got to put, more likely than not, plenty of money into advertising that show and doing things that are going to extend your reach to get new audiences, getting booked on shows to cross over with their audience and find a way to connect. There's a lot that goes into it. If you're doing it just for, hey, I want to learn a lot of stuff and I want to talk to a lot of cool people, like, podcasts are great. But if you're not clear about what that is and you're not clear about the workload involved, it gets ugly quick. So the simplest thing I would say to kind of wrap all of this with the extent of getting started is do 1 episode. Don't tell a soul about it. Just do it. See if you like it. And if you complete the whole thing, all the work that would need to be done, right? So planning it, recording it, editing it, posting it, like, go through the machinations of what it would take to make that happen. And if you say, yes, I can do this regularly, great. What's the pace? Is that weekly? Is that bi-weekly? Is it monthly? Is it a season of 10? And you'll release it that way. Like, figure out what that is first, because everybody tries to run the same playbook, and that is fundamentally not going to work for everybody. So it gets really ugly quick. People follow the wrong blueprint, and that's why they quit.
Yeah, yeah. One of the other strategies too is just having, if you can have, I like that you're like, do 1 episode, don't tell anybody. I would say do like 5 and don't tell anybody so that you have a little bit of a backlog going in that kind of a way. And being intentional, you talked about intentionality of like, well, there's got to be an interval. And that's really important. Even if it's just 10, like you said, or if it's 1 per month, where I'm just like, oh, I just do 1 per month and I'm going to consistently do it. We met on Podmatch. What other, for me, that platform, I have to glaze them a little bit, is like, that platform has really helped me in both ways as a guest and a host. Find people like you, you find people like me, and really exploded I mean, we have a backlog now. It's incredible. I don't know what people were doing. I know what I was doing before Podmatch. It was like reaching out to industry contacts and trying to get them on. It was very difficult. what were you doing before Podmatch, or have you always been there?
Yeah, so I was on Podmatch for quite a while, and then I found some other stuff that I was trying out, things like Matchmaker. Podmatch
Yeah,
is way better, by the way. It's not even close.
I
I mean,
agree.
if
I
you're gonna
used to use that one too. Yeah.
yeah, and then before that, it's interesting for me because I actually changed focus. I mean, so I had 10 years in radio. It was sports radio. So all the kinds of people that I was bringing on,
Mm.
it was really easy to find those people, and they all wanted to come on. It's like everybody, for me, I'm a Philly guy, so like everybody wants to talk about the Eagles. They'd all be mad as we're recording this, but everybody wants to talk about the Eagles. Great. There's plenty of blogs. There's plenty of social accounts. There's plenty of other podcasts. There's other radio people. Like it was always easy. But then once I got into this from more of that business standpoint, yeah, Podmatch was the first thing that I really connected with. And then otherwise, honestly, I strongly suggest to people invite who you know.
Hmm.
Just bring on somebody that you have a good relationship that's really interesting, that you can have a good conversation with. And the value of that is it is somebody that you know, and they are specific to you and your relationship and your show. They're not on every show. They're with you because you know them, and they're not actively working as a guest. So yeah, meet those people, expand your network, and do that. But the other side of it is just invite people on that you know and you like.
Yeah. I remember we had a podcast before this podcast, and it was just kind of a silly thing. It was called Driving to Work. And I remember that I would get nervous before we would record. And then it stopped at about episode 100. I wonder, did you ever experience that part? Do you help people cope? Because I think a lot of folks, you talked about, they wanted to come on, the folks you wanted, but there's a
Yeah.
big majority that are like, oh my God. I mean, they feel like it's live TV. It's not.
Yeah, no, people definitely get nerves about it. I had crazy nerves. I mean, starting in radio and really
Mm.
all through my radio career, 10 years in radio, I was hosting for about 6 of those years. And I got nerves before just about every single show because,
Oh.
it's live, it's public. You're managing 4 hours of airtime. You got to talk through all of that time.
Yeah.
People in sports media want to tell you that you're wrong about stuff and why. It's like it gets personal, it gets ugly. So
Uh-huh.
it felt like I was going to war every single day as much as it was entertainment. And then from the podcast side, yeah, I felt the same thing. I mean, there's nerves that go into making these kinds of appearances, and you never know theoretically what's going to happen. And part of it is I just have a drive to do a good job. Every time I show up, I want to be great. I want to be engaging. I want to inform people. So that's good anxiety. And I think what people need to do when they're trying to harness that energy is just be very specific about why they're coming on. It's almost the opposite of what you talk. It's exactly what you talked about earlier with setting up the show. Hey, we're going to talk about A, B, and C, or you want to bring people on to talk about A, B, and C. And as a guest, if you clearly define the kinds of things that you want to talk about when you come on, there's less to be nervous about, right? You know what the topic is. It's something that you're going to talk about pretty routinely. And what you'll just see is slight variation each time because the hosts are going to ask you different questions. But you do those and you do quite a few of them. You do get really good at it. It does get easier. And yeah,
Hmm.
by episode 100, you probably are cruising because you've just seen everything and felt everything. And even if you feel that anxiety, it doesn't mess you up the way that you felt it before.
Yeah. Got to do the reps. Got to do the reps. I like couple sports analogies for sure.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about SBX Productions. Tell us about your company, what it's like to work with you, and how, maybe an example of like somebody you'd help launch and they're just crushing.
Yeah, so I've mentioned playbooks a little bit earlier when it comes to starting a show, and that is really where my attention has gone. I think people, when they think about starting a podcast, and production companies do this too, they just talk about the production. Hey, is it an audio show? Is it a video show? How intense is the editing? All that different kind of stuff. And like, yes, those things matter, but ultimately, why are you doing it, and what do you want to get out of this, right? And for the people that I'm working with, on the one end, it's small business owners. So I've worked with coaches, consultants, people who are the business. And then on the other end of it, I actually just launched a service as we're talking yesterday, which is for organizations. And the whole idea being that it's a very specific playbook. I call it the Community Builders Playbook. And it is built explicitly to help organizations retain members, recruit new members, create a more engaged community, and just generate all sorts of marketing material while they're doing it. And so to have that kind of system in place, it's an easy thing in the sense that I'm not worrying about 500 people downloading that episode necessarily. If you're getting 100 people and they're all part of your community and they're engaging with that and you're posting on behalf of your community, you can understand how it supports the community. You are getting the value, you're attracting the right people, you're solidifying the identity and allowing connection. So that's great. But that's like a very specific way of doing a show for a very specific intent and a specific kind of client. And so that's how I approach these things in terms of the method. And then from the other side of it is just, I love people, man. I love people. I love working with people. I love to teach. I love the support. I love to educate. So it's as much as I can show people, like, one, understand their business thoroughly. I want us to understand everything that you do, the kinds of people that you talk to, referral partners, what has worked for you in the past, what hasn't worked in the past, where is your energy going, how many people on your team, who is involved. I want to know all that stuff. And then from there, it becomes very clear of what we're going to do, what that playbook is that we're going to run. But yeah, I want to understand people in and out and be a genuine partner, because this work is hard. You care about your business. It's your life. And it's not something I take lightly. It's very important to me.
Where do you get your energy? It's infectious.
God, I wish I knew. I just talk to people all day, every day. And I was always like that. I mean, I was a kid, as a kid, I was never home. And that's nothing against my parents. I love them to death. They're the kindest people on the planet. But I was always with friends, just always day after day, just living with other people, essentially, because I liked being around people and like cracking jokes and playing sports and whatever. So that's all I did. And over time, I just got lucky enough where I was able to get into a profession in radio where that's the job, So all of these things sort of naturally fell in line. But yeah, so that's part of it is just I like being around people. Part of it is just I'm just a positive guy. Part of it is coffee is good, So a lot of things combined into that.
Yeah, I love it. Well, two questions as we run up on the half hour here.
Sure.
First one is I ask everybody this, but I've just got to get the unique answer. Knowing what you know now, and if you can go back in time to when you first started your business, SBX Productions, what is one piece of advice you give your former self?
Oh, don't start it yet. You're not ready, honestly. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't. I didn't know anything about business when I jumped in. I didn't understand the market. I didn't understand the values and business plans. I didn't have any idea. I jumped in because there was an existing studio. It was a separate business, and they wanted me to join them because I had credibility. I was hosting shows. I was I was on the national stage at the peak of it. So I had a lot of good things going on, and they wanted to incorporate that into what they were doing. But after I spent about a year there, I just didn't like how they were doing it, and I didn't like how radio was heading as an industry. So I figured I'll start my own thing. But I really didn't know what I was doing. I was making a lot of mistakes. It didn't have the only thing that kept me alive from the jump was that when I left that business, because I didn't like how they were doing things, literally every client they had came with me. And
amazing.
Which, hey, a gift, right? But from the sense of do I know business plans and marketing and in and out and all that kind of stuff? I didn't understand it at all. So I wasn't ready. If I was going to start a business, I would have done it completely differently at this point. But I've been able to grow and evolve and learn on the fly, and I'm lucky to still be here.
Beautiful. You're the first person that I think, gosh, I'm at 300 or 400 episodes or interviews I've done so far with folks, and you're the first one that answered like that. Most people say, so fascinating. It's great. You really are a true contrarian, and you buck the system. There is a system here. Most people say, I would have started earlier. I would have done more. And you're like, I wouldn't have started. That's fascinating to me. So I love the honesty. Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah. That's all we got. That's all we got. I got to be honest.
Yeah. Well, that's maybe the best pitch for people to check you out is just your honesty, your attitude. You're great, Vince. I appreciate you being on the show today. Where can people follow you, get in touch with you if they want to work with you?
Yeah, so easiest way to do it, freepodcasthelp.com. It is the best purchase I've ever made in my life. Freepodcasthelp.com. I will give you a free 15 minutes. It's a very surgical thing in the sense of you're going to tell me exactly what you're going through before we even sit down. So I've got a full understanding of you, your business, all those things that I talked about earlier. And we get right to the point. I want to solve a problem for you. I want to make your life easier. And we can do that in 15 minutes. So freepodcasthelp.com.
Super cool. Awesome, buddy. Well, thanks for being on the show today. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Lance.